finish this race, but he is nearly 0.3 of a second faster than Juan Montoya. He hasn't really got very much to do except to keep his right foot planted to the floor in this Ferrari, get across the line to snatch pole position for his home Grand Prix. Yes! Just listen to the crowd.
Barrichello's home runs have been horrendous. Interlagos is a 70,000 sellout, the vast majority, including his wife Silvana, imploring their favourite to deliver at last at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Hello there, Interlagos is absolutely jumping. They queued overnight, some of the stands were packed a good 6 hours ago. Can Barrichello do it? We'll assess his chances in a moment. First, though, our report on a radical set of proposals that could transform F1 next season. All the teams, excluding Ferrari, have agreed to change tyres and testing. Qualifying will also change. Ted Kravitz reports.
F1 team bosses have had feverish meetings behind the scenes this weekend. Bad-tempered bargaining, trying to find a future way for Formula One. But two things are for certain. Firstly, next year's technical rules. Cars will look a bit different. Smaller front and rear wings will mean a 15 to 20% cut in downforce. Tyres will be more durable and therefore cut cornering speeds, and each engine must last 2 races. They currently last for just 1 event. The arguments surround 2006 and the move to 2.4-litre V8 engines. The other thing to change for 05 is qualifying. The sessions will be split over Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning. They'll run on Saturdays when we're all used to seeing qualifying on low fuel, but we won't know who is on pole and where everyone else is on the grid until 3 hours before the race. The final qualifying results are an aggregate, a combination of both times. Will that be any good? We asked the drivers.
I don't like it. I think adding the times together is, we do that on Sunday afternoon. We have an hour and a half of a Grand Prix to add the times together and the best man wins.
I don't know how much viewing there's going to be on the Saturday now. That's the only worry. Hopefully it won't change. And on Sunday morning when everyone's watching qualifying, hopefully they're going to know what's going on.
Ultimately it won't change much from this year. It just means you have twice as much track time to make a mistake. And basically the better cars will make a bigger difference because it's easier to make a mistake on a bad car.
Hopefully they can do it in such a way that the time immediately is being updated. Because if you have to sit there and explain, well, they've done a 118 now and yesterday they did a 117 and, get your calculator out, it could be confusing.
I think all the drivers, we like to drive with low fuel and new tyres. Unfortunately, the tyres will be the same for quali and the race. But I think it will be more interesting for the people as well to add the second qualifying, the times, and more interesting, I think.
So many proposed changes to this sport, it is easy to get confused. We chatted to Bernie Eccleston yesterday though, Mark, didn't we? And he gave a little flicker of hope for Silverstone, saying there could be as many as 19 Grand Prix next season.
Well, it'd be fantastic to have Silverstone back on the calendar. It's been there since 1950, Jim, and I think everybody back in England would love to see it.
Interesting here this afternoon, we talk about the Brazilian Grand Prix. For the first time in his life, Michael Schumacher will be the oldest driver in the field, 36 in January. Made a big mistake in China and a big one here late in practice.
Exactly. I mean, it's strange to see now. Olivier Panis was the guy who's the oldest one. Now Schumacher, 36 years old, is making a mistake like he made yesterday, and you can see there's a huge impact. As ever, a little bit shaken up, but he's got to stiff up a lip there, checks the car around, making sure that he knows what can be recovered and what can't be. As we know now, that car has actually been dumped. But Michael Schumacher making a mistake which we normally see him getting away with. Rear end of the car bouncing up and down, rear wheels just leave contact with the road, side impact, and he just didn't get away with it. And that's the thing what seems strange to me, Jim. Yeah. We've seen him have little spins, accidents, but he gets away with them. This one he didn't.
Surprised he made a basic error like that?
Surprised at his level, and I'm just surprised that maybe his eyes just off the ball slightly.
And just finally, it's just started to drizzle. They're forecasting rain. The old rainmaster starting from 18th. He'll like that, won't he?
I think he will, and I think Ferrari would have fueled him up. They had the strategy there. They knew they were going to be 10 spots back.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So then it looks as though Ferrari's and Brazil's hopes are pinned very much on Rubens Barrichello, born just around the corner from Interlagos here. He's lived 20 years of his life in Sao Paulo. He's endured the agony, though, of 9 successive retirements at his home Grand Prix. Last year, he even ran out of petrol, but now he's in position to put that right.
For the second year, Rubens Barrichello was quickest in qualifying for his home Grand Prix, a race where he's had more than his fair share of bad luck. But will this 13th career pole prove to be the lucky omen Rubens needs to break the spell? It's looking good so far. Tudo bem, Rubinho?
Tudo bem, tudo ótimo. Tudo ótimo is very well. It makes me feel so proud. I mean, and immense pressure. I had to go there and just do what I'm able to do, which is drive the car, and I was able to do that. So I'm gonna sleep quite nicely.
Well, you got part one done. Now it's the difficult part. Part two, winning the race.
Yeah, part two is the most difficult one. I'm just sitting here, just waiting for what I waited last year, and it seemed that last year was my chance, and obviously something happened along the way.
Rubinho is out of the race. Oh my goodness.
Hopefully tomorrow it's the day to finish with all these taboos and things that I don't believe anyway. I think that I'm a lucky person. I just have to keep on going.
I spoke to Rubens this week, and he seems very tranquil and very confident, and you know, he's a different man these days, and I think he's quite capable of coping with the sort of pressure he's going to face.
What's it going to be like out on that grid when you're on pole position?
I don't know. I have to just to keep it nicely. You know that I used to see Ayrton. Ayrton used to stick to his car and stay quiet inside. I'm a little bit more social. It doesn't really bother me the fact that the public is there. I could get out of the car, wave a little bit to them, but I still keep focused. So that's what I plan to do.
I think to win home is a fantastic experience. I won exactly 30 years ago on the McLaren here, and you know, you leave home to go to the racetrack. You sleep on your own bed. It's a fantastic experience. The public behind, I mean, the family, the friends, the whole country be behind. I mean, it's a fantastic experience.
And if he does win, the whole country presumably will explode, will it?
I think it'll be a big party for 2 days. Holiday on Monday.
And they do know how to party in these parts. He looks very relaxed, doesn't he? His name is also Rubens. That's his dad, Rubens Barrichello Sr., sitting right behind us here in the paddock. Right, they're all primed for a party. The old man there, he's looking very relaxed indeed. You, though, have got one guy you think might ruin the script here.
Kimi Räikkönen for me. I think the guy has got good tactics. I think McLaren have got a bit of fuel in there. He'll be one of the last guys to do the first stop, and he's really got the bit between his teeth. He's won the Grand Prix this season, but he wants to get another one under his belt. Last opportunity, as we know, but I think Kimi's the man. I spoke to him literally a few minutes ago, and he's fired up. McLaren stepped up to the plate as well. We've seen his car progressing halfway through the season, and I think he could take it to the end.
He was declared the winner here, wasn't he, in that chaos after the race last year. Fisichella got it in the end, but he just seems to have been happy with his machinery all weekend.
Well, you know, with Kimi, he's got that situation where he jumps in the car, if he hasn't got a few problems, he drives around them. He doesn't get phased out by him, and that's what you need.
Let's look at the two Brits in the race. First of all, Jenson Button. The lap here is so short, if you make a mistake, you pay dearly for it. Jenson did.
Yeah, Jenson, a little bit unfortunate for him and the BAR team. I think they all had high hopes of setting a pole position lap. Just watch him through here, just gets that little wobble on there, takes a little bit of edge off him, cost him a couple of attempts at least, Jim, and I think that could have elevated him out a couple of spots. But don't be perturbed, I think they've got a good race set up.
OK, David Coulthard has it all to do. His farewell drive for McLaren. He had a pretty horrible day yesterday, didn't he? Made a mistake early and never got any real pace after that.
Yeah, I think David actually went out there to put a fiery lap in. He got caught out here as he comes through the centre S-curve. Just watch at the bottom here. Comes through the right-hander. Bush, rear end steps out, has to correct it, and then I think he was just cautious over the remainder of the lap, and it really did cost him. He's well down the field now. He's got a lot of work to do.
He is being replaced at McLaren by Juan Pablo Montoya. He wants to leave at Williams with a real hurrah, and he's in good shape up there on the front row, the Colombian.
Monster Montoya's back. He's definitely put a lap together. I think, you know, Juan is going to do the ultimate race that he can do for Williams. He wants to show these guys that he has got it, and he wants to go to McLaren with a win under his belt. I'm not so sure he's going to have the win today, but I'm really interested to see this guy set off the line with Rubens into turn one.
Absolutely, that thrilling uphill start here. All right then, Mark, there we are. Just confirm how they're going to line up for the final hurrah of F1 2004.
Rubens Barrichello takes pole position for the Brazilian Grand Prix. His fourth pole of 2004. Montoya lines up his fourth appearance this season on the front row. Räikkönen impressive in the McLaren in third. Massa also equals his best qualifying this season. Jenson Button only 4 attempts off pole position. His teammate Sato alongside. Ralf Schumacher in 7th position, Alonso in a solid 8th in the Renault. Trulli and Fisichella round up the top 10. Mark Webber in 11th, his last race for Jaguar. Coulthard struggling in 12th with the McLaren. Villeneuve not impressive with 13th, Zonta alongside him. Christian Klein, probably his last Grand Prix. Nick Heidfeld solid in 16th for the Jordan. Glock ahead of the world champion Michael Schumacher, who's had to take the spare car with an engine change. Baumgartner and Bruni also engine changes and on the back of the grid.
Jenson Button then starting 5th, hoping for his 11th podium of the season. What a great achievement that would be, by the way. And Jenson knowing he's going to be staying right here at BAR next season. That intended move to Williams is off because his current employers hold a valid contract for his services.
3 months ago, Jenson Button announced he was leaving BAR to drive for Williams in 2005. Earlier this week, he announced he was staying put. The long-awaited judgment from the Contract Recognition Board ruled in favour of BAR. Procedural errors by Button's manager, John Byfield, were the deciding factor in a close-run contest.
A bit disappointed. It's not the result I expected, but, you know, it's the CRB's decision, and I'm at BAR next year.
I don't think there are any winners out of this at all, actually. Maybe the winners is Formula One as a whole, but I don't look at it as winning and losing. I look at it just at the end of the day. You know, I think we have to stand up and all of us have to honour our agreements, and I'm sure Jenson reflects on that and believes the same now.
It doesn't make us regret in any way the actions that we took. We had a offer put to us from his management group to say he was available, and anyone in their right mind would try and secure the services of Jenson.
You are in a situation where you've been effectively forced to stay with a team that you've quite clearly stated that you didn't want to drive for. How do you resolve that?
It's not that I didn't want to drive here, it's just that I wanted to be somewhere else. But I don't think it'd be too difficult. We do need to sit down and discuss what's happened, definitely, and then put that to the back of our minds and just get on with our jobs.
So it's BAR for the foreseeable future, but it seems that Williams are prepared to wait for their man.
We've had an interest in Jenson for a long time. We gave him his first opportunity in Formula One, and he's a driver in which Frank and I have had close interest for some time, and we hope eventually we'll get back together and that he will be driving for Williams again.
I don't know what my intentions are yet. You know, I have to wait and see what happens next year, and we all want to be with the best team in Formula One, and that might be BAR at the end of next year. It might be someone else, but whatever, it's a long way in the future, and now we've cleared this up, you know, we can concentrate on next year and look at getting a very good result.
Despite all those politics, it's been a great season for Jenson Button, Takuma Sato and the BAR team. Mark, he is there physically, but where do you think his heart is at the moment?
I think his heart's a little bit in no man's land because, you know, he's been through this situation. More importantly, though, Jim, continuity now is going to go into the BAR team for next season. They're going to be very happy about that. Jenson should be happy and make the most of it as well.
The bottom line is for him, he wants to go to Williams because he believes they can deliver a world championship for him. Could he win it at BAR?
Well, if you'd have told me that BAR were going to finish second in the Constructors' Championship this year, I would have said no way. Well, we think they are going to do it. Definitely looks that way. I think it's quite possible.
And they have been doing the business despite all those wranglings, haven't they?
They have, and you've got to take your hat off to everybody there, everybody in that team, the management, the driver. They've all done the business, they've got their heads down and gone on with it.
Just looking at the Constructors' Championship, BAR have made a massive improvement compared to last year. They'll be runners-up to Ferrari, surely. They're plus 90 on their 2003 total. Sauber, Renault, even Minardi have improved. Williams and McLaren contesting 4th and 5th. Two of the heavyweights, well, they have incurred the biggest losses.
The next 2 hours will be critical for every F1 team. The final push for championship points, worth millions of pounds in prize money and just as much in pride. The story of this season's Constructors' Championship is how badly two of the best resourced teams have done. Compared to last year, Ferrari and BAR have improved by over 90 points, but Williams and McLaren on the right here underachieved massively.
Overall, the year has been quite difficult, but at least we got one win and some good results before the end of the year, so that's why we're looking forward for the next year.
The whole season was pretty disappointing, and I must say that was the lowest point of my career. not only because of the accident, especially due to the reason that we had a winning car and just started so bad.
Now Jenson Button is staying at BAR, Williams need to find another driver. Antonio Pizzonia and David Coulthard are favourites, although DC could find himself part of a new 3-car team. That's because Jaguar and Jordan's futures are uncertain and the rest have to make up the numbers. So could we see 3 Ferraris, BARs, McLarens and the rest on next year's grid?
I would say highly likely that it's going to happen, and we'll make it as cost effective as possible, but the important thing is to do what is necessary to make Formula 1 better, and if that's what it's going to take, that's what we'll do.
Minardi have their own engine programme so they can run fully independent. But Jordan need to find a new engine supplier in the next few weeks. That's tough, but not impossible. As for the team competing for the final time today as Jaguar Racing, the for sale sign is still firmly stuck outside the factory door. But outside the McLaren pit today was the official goodbye for David Coulthard. F1's version of personalised plates for a man with 150 races and 12 wins for the team.
Well, I've got mixed emotions as I go towards Brazil. On one hand, I love the circuit. I've had success there. I won in 2000. And of course, the other thought is it's my last Grand Prix for the West McLaren Mercedes team. And that brings with it naturally some disappointment. And there's also a little bit of excitement about knowing what the future might hold for me, whether that be continuing as a Grand Prix driver, which is my desire, or if that doesn't work out for whatever reason, then moving on to another stage in my life. This is not a business where you just turn up and do the job and clock in and clock out. This is a business of emotion and passion. And you know, I've always put my heart and soul into trying to do the right thing and to do it to the best of my ability. I wanted to win in the right way. Just to stand at the top of the podium when all the other main contenders have crashed out is not how I like to win Grand Prix. The real valuable Grand Prix are the ones where Michael's been standing beside me, Mika and whoever else it may have been, Kimi or whoever at that time. To win them with good competition around you and standing beside you on the podium, you really know that you know, you've mastered a Grand Prix car and being at the top of your game if you can achieve that.
Really sad to see him on the outside looking in at the moment, Mark. Top British driver for 6 of his 11 years. At the top, he's won 13 Grand Prix. I think you'd like to see him in that Williams next year, wouldn't you?
I think he's a logical choice. I mean, he's 33 years old, 3 years younger than the current world champion, 13 Grand Prix wins, as you say. He knows how to develop a car. He knows how to lead a team. And I think Williams need that.
Here he is just coming out to warm up. It's still pretty greasy out there, by the way, but it's really weird, isn't it, Mark? All those races he's had, all that experience, and he needs to deliver this afternoon to get a job.
He does need to deliver, and I think if these conditions stay as they are, Jim, quite possibly it will play into his hands in many respects. And we also know DC is extremely good in the wet weather conditions.
Absolutely. Get wet weather at Interlagos, you get high drama. We'll remind you of last year's race after the break. The rain is continuing to come down. We're 20 minutes from the start of the Brazilian Grand Prix. It is still raining at Interlagos, Sao Paulo, Formula 1 South American footprint. We've got a Brazilian Barrichello on pole, a Colombian Montoya next door, another boy from Brazil, Massa, all set to samba from fourth. Those fanatical fans, the Paulistas, cannot wait for the start. Mind you, they'll all have to go some to match the hair-raising drama of last year's race in the wet.
The tension there building, the samba drums beginning to beat in the grandstands. We're going to get some racing at Interlagos. The safety car comes in, the crowd are cheering. He hasn't hit the gas yet.
Not a smart thing to do at all, Ruben. And now Coulthard might punish him for that, down into turn 1.
Wow! Kimi Räikkönen puts down a marker for David Coulthard.
Oh, that's Ralph Furman. I think it's a front suspension failure. Oh, big accident.
Montoya and Pizzonia. Michael Schumacher's gone straight on in the same place as Pizzonia.
So Coulthard leads the Grand Prix and the safety car is pitting.
Oh, and that's Button. He was in a promising position. We are down to just 11 cars. No, that's Webber. He spun it. Same place as everyone else. Can he rescue? Yes, he can. Barrichello's through. to the lead. Listen to the crowd. I don't believe it. Rubinho is out of the race. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Fisichella takes the lead. What a move. And that's a big shunt for Mark Webber.
Oh, and we've got another car
Alonso. The race-winning car in Parc Ferme has caught fire. Well, if ever you wanted a bizarre day, this is surely it.
Things were very different for Jaguar when they raced here last year, but now after 5 years, 84 Grand Prix and 2 podium finishes, the team are coming to the end of the road. This is the last time that their 2 cars will be seen on the grid. It's been a difficult weekend for all the team members out here. They're facing an uncertain future, but happily they're facing it with a smile on their faces, thanks in no small part to this chap. No, I don't mean Mark Webber. I mean this chap down here. Mark, tell us the story.
Well, Donkey's been with us since Spa, but he's done everything. He's part of the team of the factory. He's been in the safety car. He's been in every chassis in the pit lane, I think, except the Williams. So, but it's quite hard to get a Williams seat actually. So, but he's done it. All the drivers have signed him. We're going to auction him off to a charity. He did the driver photo shoot this morning. So. He's done a lot of things, so he's even been interviewed by you. So yeah, it's been good. And like you say, we're trying to do it with a smile on our face. We've got to go out with the best result possible. It's going to be a tricky start. It's good for everyone at home to watch the excitement of the first race. The first few laps is going to be tricky.
We hope it goes well for you, Mark. Thanks.
Thanks, Colin.
Yeah, great sympathy, great credit to everybody at Jaguar for the way they have endured these horrible last moments of their F1 career. I want to talk to you, Mark Blundell, really about the dramatic change in conditions we've had here since we've been on air, really, and we saw, looking back at last year's race, what an evil place this can be in the wet.
Oh, it can be very bad indeed, and we saw on the video clip earlier the amount of cars that came off the circuit. There's like a parking lot out there at some points, but you know, this is a situation that the teams and the drivers have been in before. Last few minutes it's really got heavy drizzle coming down. They now need to make some decisions on what they're going to do, but pretty much in terms of fuel, we're all baselined out. It's what the drivers want to do tactically.
It was a lot heavier, the rain here last year, but there were actually rivers across the circuit, weren't there?
Yeah, very much indeed. Huge amount of water when it gets dispersed across the track. There's nowhere for it to go, and the cars get caught out quite easily.
Okay, let's go down to Martin down there on the grid. Martin, I didn't know it actually, read it in your book. You almost died at this place, didn't you? What was it, Jos Verstappen's wheel on your head or something like that?
Yeah, I did 10 years ago, Jim. In fact, it's one of my favourite chapters in that particular book. But what a strange grid we've got down here today. One of the most weird I've ever been on, I have to say, probably the most difficult, in fact, for many people. Of course, you've got 2 locals at the sharp end of the grid on the first and second row, as Jim pointed out. But there's a lot of people with difficult jobs here today. Are the teams going to be in business? Are drivers going to be in business next year? So many of them on this grid are out of contract or moving to other teams. This is the back of the grid, look. And this, nobody behind this is Michael Schumacher's car. That's how far he's back. It's slippery like anything. It's just a little bit too wet, I suspect, for the Michelin runners to start on their dry tyres, where they will just decimate the Bridgestone runners if they start on dry tyres. I think this might just play into Bridgestone's hand. It's really, really difficult to call at the moment. Now, yesterday during qualifying, I said there were some doubts over the Jordan team and Jaguar team for next year. You've already heard from Louise. Eddie, I came into this paddock Friday morning. 5 key people said to me, Jordan and Jaguar are finishing next year. We're having to run 3 cars. Was that a very clever tactical move by you?
No, I had nothing to do with this. I think that was there was a lot of rumours, as indeed there has been for some time. But in actual fact, this particular weekend here in Brazil, just like last year, it has been a huge step forward for us. And honestly, we will be, for sure, making the entry, and we will be on the grid. We have to get a supply of engine, which we think we've made good progress here this weekend.
Well, I'm hearing literally 10 minutes ago that you may have secured Toyota engines.
Here to do this race, and we can talk about things like that at a later stage, but it has been a huge, massive step forward for all at Jordan. Fantastic.
All right, brilliant news for the team. Well done. Now let's see what else is going on around here. I'm desperate to try and find out what James, what do you think the tyres are going to be for the Bridgestone runners?
Going to be very difficult, probably on the intermediate tyre, I would think.
Okay, thanks. So intermediates for Bridgestone, I think that's their only option. And the Jaguar team here, Klean's car, I desperately want to try and get hold of David Coulthard if he's around. If he's not getting in the car, it's going to be difficult today because so many people left the pits with about 2 or 3 minutes ago. They wanted to come onto the track at the last possible moment so they could get the best feel they can of what the track conditions are. Coulthard went out on dry tyres. I don't know what he's likely to start the race on. Let's see if he's back on the grid. I can see Simoni, but I can't. And DC is not on the grid at this time. Okay, let's see if we can find somebody else running those tyres. Here's Bernie and Max down here. There have been so many changes this year. I just wonder. Max and Bernie, huge changes for Formula One. Team managers running all over the place, making decisions on the hoof. It's been a weird weekend.
Be quiet. Now you're an author, you're writing books and things like that, and now...
Have you got my new book?
I'm going to buy it. Well, I was hoping you were going to give me one. What's the name of it so I get it right?
Working the Wheel, actually, Working the Wheel.
But I just wanted you to make sure that you give me the right book.
Yeah, well, you got me into a lot of trouble now.
Got the plug done now, so...
Yeah.
Do you want to know anything about Formula One?
I want to know everything.
About selling your book?
I know. I want to know everything about Formula One.
No, well, it's all looking good for next year, I think, except nobody will agree about anything.
But why are we making so many changes on the hoof? Why isn't it done in a 3-day meeting on a tropical island somewhere instead of running around signing a piece of paper?
The actual changes have been done over a period of 3 months, and the bit of paper doesn't really count for much because a lot of people haven't signed it, being serious for a moment. So that's something maybe for the future, but the real changes have all been done over a period of 3.5 months.
Bernie and Max, thank you very much. We've got to go back to the studio.
Thank you very much indeed, Martin. The first time into Lagos, the stage, the final race of the season. Rubens Barrichello has got everything right so far, but he has failed to finish 10 times here. Montoya, Raikkonen, Massa and Button all want to ruin his script. It could be David Coulthard's F1 farewell as well. Conditions are very tricky indeed. Stand by for the Brazilian Grand Prix.